Hillsborough County, along with local and federal health experts, are encouraging residents to wear cloth face masks to cover their nose and mouth when in public to help stop the spread of COVID-19. There are not enough surgical face masks for everyone, and available ones should go to healthcare workers and first responders. It's easy to make your own face mask out of common household items. The CDC and U.S. Surgeon General say you can use an old scarf, bandana, or make one using a t-shirt plus 2 rubber bands. Cut part of the t-shirt into a square, fold it from the bottom to the middle, then from the middle to the top. Repeat those steps one more time, then add a rubber band to each side. Bring each end to the middle, then secure around your face. They should fit snugly but comfortably. Cloth face coverings should not be placed on children younger than 2 years of age or people who have trouble breathing. The CDC emphasizes that while wearing a face mask, you should still practice social distancing, stay 6 feet apart from others, and continue other preventative measures such as frequent hand washing. We encourage you to visit hcflgov.net/stay-safe for up-to-date information.
Hi, I'm Hillsborough County Commissioner Les Miller. We're going through an unprecedented crisis as we navigate the COVID-19 pandemic. I understand your challenges, and I'm sympathize with the difficulties many of you are facing during this time. Hurricane season started on June 1st. It is important that you plan, prepare, and stay safe. This year, experts are predicting 40% more storm activity than a typical hurricane season. When a storm is identified, it's important to stay tuned to your radio or television and listen to local authorities. Stock your home and vehicle with emergency supplies and make plans in advance to protect people with special needs and pets. If evacuation orders are called, heed the warnings and follow special instructions related to sheltering during COVID-19 pandemic. I encourage you to visit hcflgov.net/stay-safe for information on disaster planning, evacuation zones, shelters, and more. Make sure you and your family plan, prepare, and stay safe.
Flossing in the morning is a really great way to keep your teeth healthy and start the day. But when you're through, here's what you do. Throw it in the trash, don't flush it. There's a problem lots of people don't know, called sanitary sewer overflow. A condition buried deep in the ground, inside of pipes where bad clogs are found. It's a problem we can all help solve, so throw it in the trash, don't flush it. Baby wipes, bandages, cotton pads, paper towels, dental floss, clog up bad. Medicines, kitty litter, cotton swabs, hair. Throw them in the trash, don't flush it. It just takes a second to do the right thing, so toss it and let's keep our pipes clean. Throw it in the trash, don't flush it. If it's not toilet paper, don't flush it. Even if it says you can, don't flush it. If you're having any doubts, don't flush it. One more time, don't flush it.
Hello, I'm WWE superstar Titus O'Neil, and today I'm coming to you as a neighbor. You owe it to yourself and those you love to get tested now. Get the care you need and protect your family. Hillsborough County is offering free coronavirus testing and no health insurance is needed. It costs you nothing to get tested. Visit hcflgov.net/stay-safe for more information and have a reservation made today. Share this with a neighbor and let's come together as a community and keep fighting to get through this. Together, we will come back stronger. God bless.
So you have now completed your emergency plan for your family. How about a plan for this family member? Protect your pets during a disaster by including them in your family's emergency plan. Start by making your pet a disaster kit. Put all paperwork into a large Ziploc bag, including a picture of you and your pet, your contact information, vaccination information, and special care instructions. In addition, you should pack certain items to help your pet during the emergency. a 7-day supply of food with bowls, a travel crate, and your pet's favorite toy. Remember, shelters are the place of last resort. Your plan should include being far away from the disaster's epicenter. But if you do find yourself at the shelter, know the rules. Once at the shelter, your pet will be placed in a designated animal section. This is for your pet's safety, as well as other shelter residents. Knowing the shelter rules helps everyone stay safe during an emergency. For more information about shelters, their location, rules, and how to get ready for a disaster, go to hcflgov.net/staysafe.
Welcome everyone to the October 20th, 2020 meeting of the Hillsborough County Historic Resources Review Board. My name is Tom Hisney and I am support staff for the board. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We have an introduction. I have it listed on the wrong part of the agenda, but I would like to introduce everyone to our newest member, Jamie Creamer. She was, this is her first meeting. She was appointed last month. And she is appointed to the seat of real estate broker. Ms. Creamer lives in Plant City and in the unincorporated area. And she has an expressed an interest in historic preservation. She's currently Chief Financial Officer of the HVAC warehouse. And Ms. Creamer, welcome aboard. If there's anything you want to let us know about yourself, that would be great.
Thank you. Sorry, technical difficulties. Can everybody hear me though now?
Yep.
Okay. These are my husbands. I've never worn them, so I don't know how it works. But yes, so we, I'm the CFO. We started our own business in Plant City. It's called HVAC Warehouse. And I've had my real estate license for 4 years now. And I've always been interested in historical preservation, and really I'm interested in stuff like government, countywide, local, anything like that's interesting to me. So I'm here and I'm ready to learn, and I'll follow your lead.
Yeah, well, great. Well, again, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
All right, board members, our first item of business today is the election of officers, both a chairman and a vice chairman. I'm going to read from the rules of procedure as the job description for both. The chairman shall decide all points of order, procedure subject to these rules, unless directed otherwise by a majority of the board in session at the time. The chairman shall appoint any committees found necessary to investigate any matters before the board. Job description for the vice chairman is the vice chairman shall serve as acting chairman in the absence of the chairman. Such time shall have the same powers and duties as the chairman. But with that, I will turn over the elections to Assistant County Attorney Nancy Tuckermore.
Hello there, and thank you all for attending. So what we really need now is volunteers, or if you'd prefer to nominate somebody else for the position of chair, that would be much appreciated. You guys are a small board, and there are only 4 of you here today. So again, we'd really just appreciate if anyone's interested.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Ryan Crutchfield for the chairman position.
Mr. Crutchfield, would you be willing to serve?
Sure.
Okay, great. Are there any other nominations for chair, or any volunteers for chair as well? And if not, we also need a vice chair.
I would nominate Charles Nelson for vice chair.
My great 3 months experience.
We'll keep guiding.
Yeah, would that be acceptable?
If Ryan will be the chair, I will be his backup, yes.
Okay.
All right. And I'm assuming there are no other volunteers or nominations. Speak up now if that's not the case. Okay, so I think we can do this pretty quickly. All in favor of Mr. Crutchfield as chair and Mr. Nelson as vice chair, please indicate by saying aye.
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 And Mr. Crutchfield, did you say aye as well?
Yeah, aye.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Congratulations, gentlemen. All right, Mr. Crutchfield, the meeting is yours.
All right. Let me find the agenda.
Item C, approval of the minutes from last meeting.
So it's called to order. We have a quorum. Is that true?
Yes, yeah. Nancy?
Quorum. You do have a quorum.
Good. There are no agenda changes or roster updates to this meeting?
No, sir.
Okay.
The only update is that we have a new member.
Yeah, so approval of the regular meeting minutes. So these were sent out to everyone last week by Tom. Did everyone have a chance to review them? And if so, are there any changes that need to be made, or are they going to be accepted as they were presented?
I move that they be accepted as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor of approving the minutes as presented?
Aye.
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 That's minutes have been approved. So section D, public comment, announcement, and guest speakers. Do we have any public comment announcements or guest speakers for this meeting?
James, is anyone logged in as a guest speaker? Or public, rather? I wasn't notified of that, and last checking my emails, I don't see any indication.
Good afternoon. This is James Brewer. That is correct, sir. We received no submissions for public comment this afternoon.
Thank you, James. With that, we'll move on to staff items then. Number one, the approval order for the COA 2020 for the Old Lutz Schoolhouse. Hand that over to you, Tom.
Yes, and I apologize. I realized just now that I did not include that in the backup materials. It's just for informational purposes only, and it reflects the COA that was approved at your last meeting. I'm sorry that I neglected to include with your backup materials, but again, it's just informational purpose.
Okay, great. Which brings us to item F, board items. Number one, the deterioration of the Beal Holloman House designated landmark. Tom, could you tell us about this item?
Sure. All right. Mr. Nelson, I guess, has been traveling around the county, having a look at various historical landmarks. And a month or so ago, he notified me and Nancy Takamori about the condition of the Beal Holloman House designated landmark. In the backup material I sent you, the first thing I have in there is a copy of LDC section 30308, which addresses maintenance or designated property. It states that the owner or tenant of a landmark shall keep it in good repair. And as we go through this and look at photos, you'll see that the landmark has fallen into disrepair. But what brings us to this meeting today is that number 5 here in section 30308A5 says the HRRB may meet with owners of landmarks which are in poor repair to discuss ways to improve the condition of the property. The HRB may request the building department to take action and require correction of defects threatening the preservation of the film. This item is on your agenda today for us to get direction from you as to how you wish to proceed with this. So let me go through. I'm going to share. But I had emailed everyone, and I don't know if everyone's got a computer with an opening. Who could share the backup material? What would you prefer?
You mean presenting it on the screen?
Yeah, I can share it here through the WebEx platform, where you can individually, on your own computers, open up the PDF I sent you. It's your preference as to what you would rather do. You know what? Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Wilson. Yes.
While people are looking at the document, I add just a little more comment to why I thought we should look at this. This is a historically very important piece of property that is on the registry. It is the sole remaining tie back to the earliest days of Beesville, I should say, and that I believe the property was granted by Alfred Beale to his daughter, who built the home in, I think it was 1928 or 1925, somewhere in that range, who then deeded the house to her daughter, who intended, as I read the original report, to repair the house and move into the house to preserve it as a kind of memorial to her grandfather, Mr. Beale. When I went to the property, I went there a couple times. It just seemed like that the property was in such a state of disrepair. I was concerned on two fronts. We're responsible for preserving historic landmarks to the degree we can. So I wondered, and I asked Ms. Takamori and Mr. Hisney what our role, if any, was in that process, because this was a property that is significantly deteriorated. And secondarily, I felt that it almost was in a state of disrepair where it was an attractive nuisance in terms of being a potential hazard, because it was open. One of the doors was open. Kids could walk in there. It's not in a protected area, and potentially be a liability for the owners and, I don't know, for the county perhaps. So I wondered if there was a way that we could bring in the owners to just have a conversation with them on what their plans were for perhaps preserving this, just to kind of see where we were. So that was my motive for bringing this up, and to see what our responsibilities are or should be.
Do we know if there's any code violations at this point?
Right. Well, yeah. Well, let me, if it's okay, I'd kind of like to go through the presentation, and then we have Jim Blink here as well, and then be able to answer questions. But yes, the code definitely provides, as you can see, and I'll just go ahead and start sharing. Code definitely provides, as you can see, and again, A5, that the board does have provision there, ability to request a meeting with those landmarks. So let me scroll down. Sorry, this is sideways, but this is the current. This is the photo that Mr. Nelson sent us. And as you can see, the roof is caving in. Also, Jim Blink, from the building department, we asked him to go out there and inspect the home. Here's Jim's email. That's all being shared, and everyone can see this, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. They shared, and you can go ahead and read his email. That there's definitely some issues there structurally. And let me see if I can go ahead and change the orientation of the time. So there's one of the photos. Another one that's obviously overgrown vegetation. Here's the ones that kind of.
The picture you're showing right here is the one that concerned me the most, because that door is open and available to go in, and I'm not sure what the quality of the floorboards are, and you can see the ceiling of this porch is starting to fall in a bit. So it is in significant disrepair.
Is that the front porch?
That's the front entrance, yes.
There's another view of the front entrance. And in a minute, I'll ask Jim to give you some more details. Another photo showing the porch. Looks like the porch is supported in part by cinder blocks. Another picture of porch. And anytime you want to get back to the wall. Anyway, so there's the photo. So you can see, yes, the photo show a lot of deterioration. So let me stop.
No.
You don't see it anymore? Okay. All right, so Jim Blink, he's again a ombudsman, and Ms. Perry was asking about him earlier. So Jim, can you give us an idea of, they've seen the photos, give us a description of the deficiencies and problems that you observed?
And I'll first off, I'll agree with Mr. Nelson. It's a public nuisance to surrounding property owners. Structure's not habitable. And just like he indicated, and I tried to get a good photo of the open door there. I'm hoping the kids won't even go around this thing because it's just in a really dilapidated condition. Of course, if the property owner wanted to save it, yeah, it's possible. You can save anything. Just depends on how much money you want to invest in it. But at this point in time right now, it's just not it's a public nuisance surrounding neighbors. And hopefully you can see by the photo. I wasn't even going to try to venture in to even look at the interior of it because it's just that front entryway is just, on the verge of collapsing. And if it collapses, it's going to take part of the roof with it, if it does. So, but yeah, it's definitely a dilapidated structure.
So, Jim, would this building be subject to citation?
It would be not from us, the building, but definitely from code enforcement. It's a public nuisance, and they would certainly probably condemn it.
Well, is that the appropriate starting point for us then to get a conversation going with these people?
Well,
what was amazing to me is I went out there in the middle of the day in a county vehicle, and none of the neighbors, this is off the road, and Mr. Nelson will tell you that you have to drive, quite a ways to get to it. But I had nobody from all the neighbors, nobody bothered to come out and, talk to us or anything. So it was, for me, that was a little bit strange. Mr. Nelson, has the neighbors ever come up to you when you went out there?
No, I was there twice, and you're right. It's down a pretty long easement. In fact, I had to stop a neighbor on the street to even find the place the first time because it's not easy to find. But no one ever came out to see what I was doing there.
Which is good. I'm glad it's off the road. And when I was out there, two of I think the south side and the west side were so overgrown you couldn't even make out if there was any openings, if there was another door or what. So and also on the north side it was pretty heavily overgrown except for right where that entryway deck is.
Right.
But it's definitely in pretty poor shape.
Now, from pictures from 2003, Tom, whoever owned I think it was the granddaughter that owned the property. It was cleared off. It was completely, all the vegetation was gone. So all of this has happened in the last 17 years.
Right. And yeah, if you notice, and I can share this real quickly. This is a photo of the structure back when it was designated. This is on the cover sheet of the designation report. So you can see that it was not in pristine shape when it was designated, but this photo, I think, compared to the ones that Jim took, show that there's definitely been a large amount of deterioration. So a couple things here. One would be to go back to the LDC provisions. One is whether the board wishes to engage the property owner, who, by the way, lives in Polk County, and I believe it's the same woman that's referenced in the designation report. Distinctive first name, I believe first name is Precious. Anyway, but the owner definitely lives in Polk County, doesn't obviously no one lives in this house. So does the board, and part point of contacting the owner is to also make her aware of resources that would be available to help preserve the home, most notably being our matching grant program, which she would be able the home, and last couple of months ago you approved a grant. They could get a grant up to $12,500. At least that money will now cover half of the cost of the work. So on the one, I guess part of this then would be is whether the board, because it says the board may meet with others, okay? And the decision of the board as to whether we wish to reach out to the property owner about the deteriorated condition of the house and invite her to a board meeting.
I would say two things to that question. One, it is an important property, I think, for historical purposes. Whether it's sustainable as a piece of property, I'm not sure, but from historical purposes, it is worth our effort. So I think, one, having the owner come in and at least discuss with us whether they can, should, or would take a look at restructuring the property. I think the second point I would make, it might be worthwhile if we do that to also invite the Glover School people. That's just down the road, and that Glover Schoolhouse has been well maintained and well incorporated into the Beesville Community Center. They might be a source of support, effort.
Great.
I mean, the ideal situation that I would see, and this is really kind of dreaming out the top of my head, is have that structure moved to the Glover School location, refurbished to the point where they could tell the story much better about the Beesville community from the 1865 to 1925 period. So it might be worthwhile to bring them in to talk to the owner in a kind of a controlled environment. So I would recommend we invite them in, but also invite the Glover School people as well into that conversation.
I think that's a great idea, Charles. How far from the Glover School is it?
Oh, less than a half mile. When you say, Jim, it's same roads. It's on.
Yeah, it's just down the street.
Just you can probably see it from the house.
Yeah, it's very close. It's walking distance. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Nancy, does that require a board vote?
Sorry, I don't think it requires a board vote, but if there's any other comments that the board members wish to make, that now would be good.
So how do you go about? Do you just contact them, Tom, or?
Yeah, I'll contact the property owner with a letter because I don't know that I have her phone number. We certainly have the address. I'm certain the property appraisers has the address of the owner, which is how I know she lives in Polk County.
Is that Miss Baker? Is that Miss Baker?
I believe it's the same woman that's referenced in the designation report. I believe it's Precious Baker. Is that it?
She's a granddaughter too.
Yeah, granddaughter. Okay, I believe that's the current owner. But whoever is the current owner, we reach out with a letter, and then there's a follow-up phone call, and then I can contact also the owners of the Glover School. So I'm sorry.
I agree with Charles that there's a nice story behind this one. So if it is salvageable, that's worth making an attempt at.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the second point is dealing with about the building department taking action. And, there is the immediate issue that this is a public nuisance. I mean, it might be months before there's any kind of resolution, if at all. And in the meantime, we're on notice that this is a public nuisance, unsecured. So, Jim, you're saying that it would be contacting code enforcement, not the building department, about this?
Right. The only part we would have involved in it is if they were going to rebuild it, then we would work with them to issue a repair permit. But as far as the condition of the building, it's an existing structure, and there is a minimum housing requirement in Hillsborough County, and unfortunately, this structure doesn't meet that requirement. So now that we know about it, it would be our responsibility to notify code enforcement. Of course, they would be more than willing to work with the owner if they wanted to restore it or relocate it.
Right.
So, but yeah, we definitely need to document it now, so we know about it.
Nancy, do you have any comments on that?
No, I agree with Jim's assessment, and I think that's within the county's purview as opposed to an HRB determination as to whether or not it goes to code enforcement.
Okay. All right, so the HRB doesn't need to render a consensus on referring it to code enforcement?
That's correct. I think it's the local government's determination. But again, we'd certainly take any, thoughts that the HRB members have on the issue or how we approach the owners.
Sure. So Jim, will you then contact code enforcement?
Yeah, I will. I'll notify the division director of code enforcement.
Okay. Right.
Just
Joe
let him
Gross, and
know.
let him.
Notice to him and let him know it is a historical structure, and there's a movement to try to get the owner to either decide they want to restore it, or if they decide they just want to demolish it, that would be, under their purview. But yeah,
Well, there's one thing on when you say they decide to demolish it. Who's they? The property owner.
Property owner.
Right. Well, in that case, in this situation, because it's a landmark, they actually have to get permission of the HRB to demolish.
I understand.
Right.
Right.
So let Joe know when you contact him if obviously if there's any questions about the historic nature of this, and
I certainly will.
For him to contact me. Okay.
Yeah, I will.
All right.
Yeah, you're the contact.
All right. Yes, sir, Mr. Nelson.
I'm sorry, there's one more possibility for us. Very recently, USF's digital archives, and I'm very, very good friends with the librarian there, just finished archiving the Nest, the Mosley place down in Brandon, for preservation. If condemnation and tearing this building down is what has to happen in the end, I certainly would encourage us to reach out to USF to try to digitally preserve the structure if it's even feasible to do so. Again, our mission is preservation, and if we can't preserve the physical structure, at least preserving the historical story might be worthwhile. And that may be way outside our purview, but
I think that's a good idea, or just at least documenting, as if that comes down to that, documenting as much about the property as possible.
And I think the Glover School would have interest in that as well.
Agreed.
All right. All right. So, any further direction on our outreach? Again, I'll start with a letter because I don't have any other way that to my knowledge, of contacting you. I don't have a phone number. Would the board like to see the letter before I mail it out?
No.
And it'll certainly be as positive as possible, that you'd like to engage them in a discussion, also advise possible funding opportunities, to assist with the preservation costs, and invite her to attend our next meeting.
Okay.
Any further discussion or guidance on that?
I have a question.
Yes.
What if the owner doesn't respond?
Oh, we've never had it. I've been assisting the board here for 5 or 6 years, and I've never had to deal with this before, this particular thing. So I don't know the answer to that, but
certified letters and all kinds of other ways to try to reach them.
well, the one thing that I guess on the other side of this, the code enforcement citation, I think it was certainly going to get their attention, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they'll have to be responding to that. But hopefully, they'll be eager to meet with us and see what opportunities there might be, any for presentation.
Mm-hmm.
The good thing is the owner, it sounds like the owner lives in Polk County. We could certainly drive over there and try to make contact with the owner in person, just to let them know that, you know, that the goal is preservation, not to, you know, cost her any undue hardship.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
you know, just to preserve this structure.
Yeah.
Would there be any interest from the board for me to contact USF to see of their interest? Or is it premature to do that? I don't
think
know.
it's premature. I think we should first see where it goes and then take that route. I think that's just my opinion. Because you could get everybody all working, thinking on it, and then nothing happens.
This is the same group, by the way, that is doing the work on digitization of the Jackson House downtown.
All right.
I'll wait.
Okay, I guess that concludes the discussion on that item.
Okay. There's no new business. There's no new business listed on the agenda. So it says the next scheduled meeting is November 17th, 2020 at 3 p.m.
And then on that point, I'm going to ask Nancy Takamori to advise you of a change, required change in the format of the meeting.
Yeah, so we've been doing these virtual meetings because the governor's office had issued an executive order which allowed a virtual quorum for local boards, including this one, the Board of County Commissioners, and other advisory boards under the BOCC. So that order expires at the end of October, and we have received notification from the governor's office that it's unlikely to be extended again. So absent an extension for meetings in November and beyond, we would need to have an in-person quorum in order to meet. You need 4 members for a quorum of this board. I don't know yet where the meetings would be held. There have been discussions among the county facilities staff as to where, you know, we can safely hold a meeting and keep appropriate social distancing. And so that discussion is in the works. And we will certainly let you know. We would still be able to have the public, to the extent the public attends, do so virtually, and members beyond the 4 that are required to be in person could also appear virtually. So it would be a hybrid format, and we have used a hybrid format for certain county land use meetings that you may have seen. So that is what will have to happen starting in November. We'll certainly provide you with more specific information about locations, but at some point we will need to be asking you who is willing and able to attend in person. Does anyone have any questions?
So just on our quorum, we've got a quorum today, and our only other member right now is Curtis. Is that correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. So we're still looking for new people, more members.
We are. I don't know the status of the recruiting, but yes. Anybody else?
Nope.
Okay. Well, thank you. And like I said, we'll keep you updated as soon as we have more information about meeting locations.
Thank you.
I just make a quick comment, and I'd like to thank Charles for bringing to our attention an opportunity to try to save a landmark, because that's being proactive, and it's usually our board's reactive to what's happening out there. And then Ryan, thank you for jumping in and taking the meeting on short notice.
Sure. Thanks, everyone. Is there any other comments or points before we adjourn the meeting today?
Yep. Yes. One thing about visiting sites, whether they're landmarked, just in the inventory, I just want to remind everyone that you do not have the right of trespass on any properties, and that if you want to go onto a property, visit it, and I don't mean going down a road and looking at it, but actually stepping onto the property, you need to let me know so I can contact the property owner in advance, and just make sure it's okay, and they give you a heads up. Had a complaint from a property owner a couple months ago that it appears one of our board members went on the property, and the landscape guy saw him and then mentioned it to the owner. The owner was just wanted to bring that to my attention. So just a reminder that you do not have the right of trespass.
Okay.
Thank you. Noted. So if there's nothing else, we will adjourn the meeting now and see you guys at the next meeting.
Nice meeting everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.